Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to get amazing odds boosts every single day. Rudo, AJ, and Meghan coming to you live on an Avalanche off day as we're starting to get there, right? We're now 13 games into the season. So it's a pretty significant sample. No, I guess it is 14 because the Avs are 8-5-1. So, you're starting to get to sample sizes that you can actually extrapolate from a little bit instead of just complete nonsense, small number stuff. So we figured, we'll have a look at some of the Avs depth players, see who to this point is living up to the hype. Spoiler alert, it's not a lot of them, but something we're going to dive into anyway. AJ, you want to start with the good or the bad?
Can we start with dog ugly versus not dog ugly?
Oh my god.
Megan's just gonna leave.
Well,
no, we can
you
start
up later Friendsgiving. Sorry,
Drew. That's gonna be a problem. I'm just gonna have to hide all night.
I'm looking forward to it though. Friendsgiving's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've hung out with the homies.
It'll be so fun. Just watch your mouth.
You know what? There's gonna Rudo, aren't you bringing beer?
I am bringing beer.
I'm gonna be saying some shit.
What did Megan get signed up to bring knives? Is that why you took utensils, AJ? Because so Megan couldn't have the knives?
No, I took utensils because I always take utensils. Ain't nobody at that Friendsgiving wants me cooking for a massive amount of people.
That's why I took beer.
I get by enough to keep myself alive, but I ain't trying to thrust that on others out in the world.
Well, in any case, there hasn't been a lot of cooking going on in the Avs bottom six, to say the least.
Yeah, you could definitely say that, man. It has not been great. The problem is that you look at their lineup right now, and with the injuries, you would even say, what even is their bottom six? Because
yeah, fair.
You look at a guy like an Alex Newhook, who I think is has probably been the center of disappointment so far this season, while also being a disappointment at center because he's been a lot better at wing. But I think
also hasn't really gotten second line minutes.
That's the thing, is that like people we talk about it like, oh, Colorado's second line, and it's like Evan Rodrigues is the only one that gets second line minutes on a consistent basis. Honestly, he gets more minutes than some first line guys do.
Newhook floating just over 13 minutes of average time on ice, so not really in the second line range at all.
Which is right where he was last year, mind you. And JT Compher is really a second line guy for them. And that's where it's interesting to me that Newhook is like such laser focus on, has he taken a step forward? Is it any good? Is it better? Is it worse? Like what with Newhook, and you've got a guy in JT Compher who's in a contract year, who's given you 2 productive games this season.
Yeah. I mean, it's really between Newhook has 3 points, Compher has 4 points.
Yeah.
And Compher's playing significantly more.
Significantly more.
And it's not without similar opportunity from Newhook either, to include the ice time that Compher gets. He's also getting looks on the power play, penalty kill. Like, he's on the ice a significant amount of time. And it's not like he's a liability defensively in that right, but he's also just not really having an impact otherwise. And for what he is, as someone that has been in the discussion for a 2C, it just feels inexcusable.
Yeah, just for a direct comparison here, Newhook at 5-on-5 is averaging 0.71 points per 60. So obviously not great.
That's really bad.
Compher averaging 0.65.
That's also really bad.
Compher playing over a full minute more at 5-on-5 per game. So those are probably the two that you're really looking at and asking for more production out of going forward.
I think they have been. I think those are the two guys that I think I've been most disappointed with to start this year. And digging into some of the fancies last night, even the underlyings for Newhook aren't any good.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, they've rarely ever been good for JT Compher.
He's never been a play driver, yeah.
Yeah, he's always been a guy where it's like, well, defensively, that's the upside there. But offensively, he's never driven play. He's never been on the positive side of things. The only time that he ever ends up there is when he gets line mates that have carried him there because he's played up in the lineup with guys. And that's it. But the scoring usually drops when he's there. So if you go and you look at his with or without use or throughout his career, JT Compher has made almost every line mate a little bit worse. So some of this is normal in terms of the expectations for Compher should not have been very high to begin with because he's always been that depth guy.
We've pretty much established he's not a 2C already.
Right. And that's the thing is like he's got 4 points in 14 games. If you build that out across an 82 games, it's 23 points. All right. That's lower than you would expect for JT Compher. So he's off to a slow start, even for what you would expect is a 30 to 37 point player. He's off to a slow start. And the guy has 1 goal in 14 games. He's a guy that has averaged like 16 goals per season his entire career. Like, that it's coming with JT Compher because he does this pretty frequently. He hasn't hit that really hot week yet where he'll have
4 goals
multiple
in
good
2 games. Yeah,
exactly. He just hasn't hit it yet. What's frustrating is that the Avs really, 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 really need some help here. Like the Avs top guys really need some help. Rantanen is 3rd in the NHL in scoring. McKinnon is 5th. You can't seriously ask for more from these guys. Like Cale Makar feels like he's off to a slow start. He has 18 points in 14 games.
And you look at, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And you look at the slow production from Compher as a symptom of the larger problem, which is the entire basis of this episode. Because when you see Compher have a little bit of success, it is usually because he is playing alongside guys that are helping to elevate him. It's for that same reason that we would hate to see Newhook and Compher back on a line together because they just don't help one another in that right. And this is the problem for the Avs right now is even the middle and bottom 6 are so in flux right now that there isn't a lot of consistency. It's a 3rd line that's actually a 4th line and a 4th line that's basically the Colorado Eagles. And that is not a demerit of the Colorado Eagles. I've been really happy with the way a lot of these call-up opportunities have stepped up too, but it's a segue into the Dryden Hunt conversation as well, why this is just an area of the lineup that's hurting altogether.
I think it's an interesting name to bring up to talk about Hunt because he's now 10 games in. Those first couple of games was like he just got there. This is a total free pass. Nobody can the guy has no idea what's going on. It's fine. Whatever he does, just don't take a bunch of penalties and put them in bad spots. 10 games in, knowing that it's just 10 games, but it's what we have so far. How has he really fit for the Avs? I mean, have you guys been moved in either direction? Has there been they should really keep him? Is it I guess where do you guys sit on him after 10 games?
Certainly before last night's game, I don't see a difference between that dude and Jason Megna. He really has not had any real impact on a hockey game yet up until last night. And, some of that comes with the territory of being a 4th line player, having limited minutes, things like that. But I don't see him as an impactful player going forward either, which is more of my concern. Now, last night, AJ, you were talking about this before the show. He actually played pretty well outside of the glaring issue of not being able to finish.
Yeah, I felt bad last night that we focused entirely on Dryden Hunt not scoring in the 2 open nets that he had chances to. And totally, we dropped the ball on this. Did not give him the props for actually having an impact on the game. Playing pretty well. I felt bad about that when I went back and rewatched the game when I got home last night. I was like, man, Dryden Hunt was good in this game, and we only talked about what he didn't do instead of what he did do. But I would agree with you. The first 9 games, there was very little to pull from it that was that exciting. But I did like last night. Outside of that,
the problem you run into here is this didn't feel like Newhook's first 10 games of the season, where it feels like it's coming. There's positives to take from each game for the guy, where you can feel like, all right, maybe he's working towards something. With Hunt, it was there's nothing. He had his 2 opportunities. He botched both of them, and I don't know when he's going to get another one.
Yeah.
So
I think. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I view it similarly because Dryden Hunt was on his way to the AHL, more or less. And so for a player like Hunt and a player like Sampo Ranta, this is an opportunity. And there have been a lot of games with Dryden Hunt that he's gone unnoticed, with exception to this last one. Whereas in a much more limited sample size, I have noticed a Ranta, a Maltsev, a Kaut more. And I think it's unacceptable because they're actually in a very similar position. It's just a lot easier to reassign Sampo Ranta than it is to put Dryden Hunt back on waivers. And for that reason, though, it should motivate someone like Dryden Hunt, who is actually, in my opinion, in a very similar position, to be visible every single night, because that's the standard that has been set for a player like Sampo Ranta.
I would agree. And it's an interesting spot, right? Because historically, the Avs have been pretty consistent and good at finding quality off of waivers. Knack last year, obviously you can go back.
Yeah, there's there's like a 5-year history of this now.
Yeah, going all the way back to Nieto and Barbario.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something the Avs have been pretty good at, but every day it feels like Hunt is categorizing closer to Marco Dano than the rest of these waiver claims in recent Avs history.
I think he's in between.
I agree with that, but I think he might lean closer to Dano than successful waiver claim.
If the scale is Marco Dano and Abe Kubel,
yeah,
who I think was at forward probably the most impactful waiver claim that they've had.
Sure.
Outside of 17 games of, well, I guess they traded for Andrighetto, didn't they?
Yep.
Instead of claiming him. Good call, guys.
I see
Go ahead.
Oh, it was going to be a different topic. I'll wait a second.
Oh, I just think those two, if somewhere between those two, Dryden Hunt is right in the middle, where I think the style will play, and this is again, we're going back to a usage issue here. I want to see him play more. Yeah. I'm the 6 minutes a night is such an unfair thing to judge a guy off of. But also, you do see Sampo Ranta come in and not necessarily make a really big impact, but he does get involved in those 6 minutes somehow. All 3 games, you've seen little flashes from Sampo Ranta where you're like, what's up with this? How come these other guys, Martin Kaut wasn't doing that? Dryden Hunt hasn't done that. Jason Megna didn't do it last night. None of these guys have given.
I don't know if I agree that Martin Kaut hasn't done that.
I think Martin Kaut has flashed more when he got more minutes. When he was playing, playing the 5 or 6 minutes, I didn't see a lot of that. But Sampo has come in and actually done that, and that I think has been really interesting. I want to, me personally, I want to keep Sampo around. I want to keep Dryden Hunt around. Last night I thought was really encouraging. Is that a breakthrough where he's starting to understand what he needs to do in Colorado? Is he starting to get more comfortable with things, or did he just have a good game? I want to answer that question. I want him to get ice time to answer that question. And personally, since Sampo and Hunt got put together on that fourth line. Whether it's been Bowers, whether it's been Megna, it hasn't really mattered. I think they've started to look, they've shown life where they've been interesting, and I would like to see them get maybe another shift or two.
Sure.
Just from me, I would be, not
mean,
asking for 10 minutes here.
The Avs don't
but
have another better forward option on the horizon anytime soon. So
That's the chat has asked about Ben Meyers, and I've tweeted about the injury status of Meyers, but for people who might not be on Twitter or have seen that interaction, I just wanted to bring people up to speed why Matt Meyers hasn't been an option in the mix for a call-up, and he was injured on October 22nd in the second series of the Calgary game, and it was something in his core area relating to like his groin, hip flexors, and so I don't know the exact timeline because they were still trying to pinpoint exactly which area he had strained to prevent further strain. And if it is something though in that area, I know that can be a few weeks timeline for recovery. He's had about 3 under his belt now. So hopefully just knowing the area that it's in, we're close to knowing a better idea of when he'll return back. But it's still a bit uncertain for him.
Well, and when you talk about disappointments, you remember Ben Meyers opened the season with the team and was a big part of their off-season plan. Ben Meyers was supposed to be a guy who was going to come in and contribute on the NHL roster right away, and had such a brutally disappointing preseason and start to the year that he didn't even stick around.
Yeah.
And I think that was, we're talking about Newhook being a disappointment and, and how he hasn't quite taken the step we were hoping, but Ben Meyers was rough at the start of the year.
They're going into the season, there was buzz that Ben Meyers could be pushing for a 3C position, right? And ending up not even sticking on the NHL roster is a far cry from that.
Yeah, it was a pretty big disappointment from Ben Meyers to start the year. Like, this is a guy that was really, really well thought of. And obviously, like, not kicking dirt on the guy's career here. It's not over. It's just getting started.
Yeah,
but you couldn't have asked for much worse of a start this year, where he plays himself off the NHL team and then immediately gets hurt for several weeks. Like this, now it's into, okay, well, whenever he gets back, he's going to need a week or two in the AHL just to ramp up again. And then you start wanting to see results. Once he gets back into the swing of things, then you want to start seeing some results. And it might be unfair to ask for many results because half the Eagles are in Denver right now. Half the Eagles forward core, I should say, are in Denver right now.
Yep.
And so you're saying a bunch of guys now, that are like fine, like depth guys in the AHL are playing really important roles.
For what it's worth, Meyers is a center, so would line up to replace Jason Megna as the 4C on the Avs roster if and when he gets healthy, which is fine. I think that is the most intriguing way to run the Avs, is if you can put Ben Meyers in there and then you have a number of guys where it's like, okay, let's see what they can do on top. Meyers on top of Hunt, on top of Kaut, on top of Ranta. So at least he fits in that way. But yeah, and look, obviously you feel for him. It's out of his control that he got an injury like that. But
sucks so much.
Very unfortunate timing for sure.
Happy birthday, Ben.
Yeah, it is Ben Meyers' birthday. So
now I feel even worse. Thanks.
Well, for Ben Meyers' birthday, we are brought to you by Athletic Greens. It might not help you recover from a core injury, but it can certainly help prevent some flu-like symptoms. Also, a lot of athletes use it as part of their workout routine to get them going. So it gets your immune system boosted. Just one scoop in your cup of water every single day. Super easy to drink. A lot of people like the tangy flavor of it. So highly recommend you go check out Athletic Greens today at athleticgreens.com/avalanche. When you do order, you get a year's supply of vitamin D to go along with it. It's got 75 different vitamins and minerals in Athletic Greens, a bunch of probiotics and adaptogens as well. So really make sure you're taking care of yourself. You can take control of your health today. Again, athleticgreens.com/avalanche to order. Also brought to you by, of course, DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 rated sportsbook app out there. You can go over to DraftKings right now, use the DNVR code to set up a new account. And when you do that, you can bet $5 on any NBA team to win their next game. If they do, you get $200 in free bets. So you can jump on whatever bets you want with the $200 in free bets, whether that's betting the under on the Broncos in every single game or, taking Mikko Rantanen to score in every single game. Either way, it works out pretty consistently, let me tell you. Yeah, I don't know. There's tons of other bets as well that you can make if you want. If you think McKinnon can keep it up, maybe sprinkle a little bit on him winning the Hart, something like that. Or maybe Mikko if you want the long shot.
If you really want the better odds there, I bet Mikko's Hart odds are money Mikko.
For sure. So bunch of interesting bets you can make on the Avs there. But head on over to DraftKings Sportsbook to use that DNVR code. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Other terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Of course, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. We've talked about the bad, and we can get back to some of that, but I do want to touch on some of the positives here as well, because the Avs are getting some value. Is it really their depth, or are we really talking about their top 9? How do you want to describe stuff? Sure, fair enough. But the one guy who really has seemed to settle in nicely with the Avs is Evan Rodrigues. Silent nods. Okay.
It's true. I'm afraid to say anything else.
It's true. End of statement. I mean, look, I think you would probably like to see him get off the Cy Young game a little bit and start picking up a few more assists here and there. But
yeah,
the Avs have also kind of discovered another weapon on that power play where Erod's got a pretty solid one-timer. So he's a guy who's fit in maybe some unexpected ways, and if we're being honest, is probably getting overused a little bit right now.
Yeah.
But there's also a reason for that. The Avs are missing 2 top 6 guys, so someone has had to fill that role, and Erod is the one who's earned it the most so far.
I would say for all the hand wringing so far about how the Avs need a 2C, and it's obvious they don't have this guy or whatever, but right now, like Evan Rodrigues is centering Newhook and Martin Kaut as your second line. It's not getting second line minutes, but between Rodrigues and Compher, they're kind of making up a composite 2C job. But in the event of health, like Val Nichushkin, Gabe Landeskog come back, is it not difficult to envision Evan Rodrigues between those two as your second line, given how Erod has played? Given especially like he's driven play better than we thought. He's been fine defensively. Now that line is kind of up and down at times. That trio that's currently put together has been up and down at times. But I went and looked at how that line had done together. Those 3, Newhook, Rodrigues, and Kaut, they're even on Corsi. They're about 43% on expected goals, but they're about 55% on scoring chances. And they've gotten really unlucky. Their on-ice shooting percentage is like 4%. And their on-ice save percentage is only like 91. It's one of the lowest among Colorado's consistent lines. So it's they're okay. They're certainly not doing a job as a true second line. They're also not being played that way. We should really stop calling them that because it's not accurate. But I think Rodrigues has played himself into opportunity, is playing himself into further opportunity when they do get healthy, where you say maybe they don't need maybe they don't need to go out and make the big splashy deadline deal. Maybe they can get by with a more of a depth guy to help them instead. Because I do think Erod has played to that kind of level. I don't know what his production becomes especially at even strength. Your second line, if you're going to have like a true second line here, they have to produce at 5v5 because they're not going to get tons of power play time here. They have to produce something at 5v5.
That's my one concern there. Not that Erod hasn't played well, but you're seeing a lot of that production come from that power play, and that's where it's.
I mean, he's got 7 points. 3 of them have come on the power play. If we're talking about power play production being a concern, Arturi Lehkonen has 8 power play points out of 10.
Also a genuine concern, yeah.
Really big problem for me personally is that he's very rarely involved in 5v5 stuff. And when we're talking about how it's Colorado's top line, it's Colorado's top 2 with a third guy that's getting some free shit on the power play along the way.
For sure.
And obviously he had a great shot last night to straight just beat Jordan Binnington. But you are talking about a guy that he's got 8 power play points out of 10. You want more from Arturi Lehkonen. Erod, look, 7 points in 14 games. That's right what we talked about last night. You want right about half a point per game, maybe 0.6 points per game from your second line, giving you a point every other game. That's where Erod is right now. That's right on that line where he is. And I do wonder if you put him next to and like I believe Newhook's got better in it. I think Martin Kaut's been fine.
Agreed.
I've really not had a really big problem. And I think right now kind of just proving what we felt like he could be a solid depth guy if just given that opportunity. That play he made to tap that puck to Dryden Hunt last night, it was so underrated. I ignored it in the moment because Hunt blew it, but that is such a heads up, sneaky good play that he made. And I think he makes about one of those every game. It's like a little thing that he makes a really nice play. And then like there's all these other aspects to the game that are debatable that we could get into. But with Rodrigues, like I just wonder if you put it between Nichushkin and Landeskog or any combination of those top 5 guys, right? If it's Lehkonen and Landeskog or Lehkonen and Nichushkin, like whatever it ends up being, you feel like the opportunity is there for him before the deadline to prove he can handle that job.
It's
yeah.
Landeskog especially is the security blanket almost, right? You have Evan Rodrigues at 2C, and maybe you don't fully trust him as a 2C. Well, Gabe Landeskog has been playing as a pseudo center for his entire career with this team. Basically, he can always take some of those jobs off of Rodrigues and give him a little bit more freedom if that's how you want to run it. So I do think the Avs have some flexibility there to do stuff like that once they get healthy, like you were saying. But Erod needs some help in the immediate on that second line.
And that's not a personnel thing. That's what those guys need to play better thing.
Agreed.
But I'm saying that in a sea of God, can this guy pick his game up? Can this guy do that? Can that guy do that? I think we're seeing Evan Rodrigues show what made him intriguing to the Avs all offseason that we talked about, and saying, hey, maybe he really and we're talking about like a low end 2C here.
For sure.
We're not, if he
get
even
40
gets that,
points out of that guy, yeah.
Right. Like you feel pretty good about it, but and I could see where somebody would say, well, we're not going to win a Stanley Cup with a low end 2C. All right, well, fair enough. Like if that's a fair argument that I'm here for. But again, like more deadline stuff like there's a lot of hockey to be played before that decision has to be made.
The math
But
there is complicated.
but Erod is getting minutes and he's doing well with them. He's not at a crazy shooting percentage. It's a little high. It's at 13%. But we've also seen he's a guy with a pretty decent shot. You would like to that will probably be high for him. I think it'll probably come down when it's all said and done, but it shouldn't come down too much. And I think that's a guy that you can continue to give opportunity to, and that's easily the depth guy in your like top 6 that you feel the best about.
Yeah,
I think he definitely, in some ways, he's as advertised because this was the high end of what we expected Erod to be coming from Pittsburgh. But to some people too, there were a lot of concerns about what he could actually be. And I don't know that, you settle on him being 2C as we're talking about, but what he has been is still better than expected. And I think that even if a different 2C option, because you talked about flexibility, especially with guys getting healthy, that does give more options. This is a really good case being made for Rodrigues himself that he could still have an elevated role in the lineup moving forward. And I think he's done a lot to demonstrate why that would make sense. And I don't know if this is the proper segue, but we talk about needing more, probably like middle 6, definitely from top 6, like a Arturi Lehkonen type. But we look to where we saw a flash of chemistry and success in preseason and camp, and it was with Alex Galchenyuk and Erod and Newhook. And it feels like a good segue to talk about Alex Galchenyuk in this podcast too, to see what his role in the Colorado organization could be moving forward, if there is one.
Yeah. We are brought to you by... Well, go ahead.
No, do your thing.
We're brought to you by Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. The number of players that have already suited up for the Avs makes me want to drink. I don't know about you guys, but you can get your Breck Brew at your local liquor store. Use the beer locator at breckbrew.com to find it today, or come down to the bar where there are 8 different kinds on tap. And Thursday, you can still get tickets for the event we're putting on with Lacroix Hockey. A bunch of the Avs alumni are coming down. Milan Hayduk, Adam Foote, John Mitchell, a bunch of other guys as well, including Coach Peter Budaj. Is he officially a coach, or is he a goalie?
I think he was goalie consultant last year.
Is that
He's
the word?
He's a goaltender coach this year.
Yeah.
And officially listed as coach? Okay.
I was going to look at the staff real quick and just see what his official title is.
I didn't want to get his title wrong, but Peter Budaj will be there. That's what I'm saying. So you can get tickets.
Yeah, development goalie coach.
We should listen to Meghan.
If you're a member, I hope you got in on the cheaper price, because we are opening up tickets to the general public, but they are going to cost a little bit more. They're going up to $30. But even if you're not a member, you can get in on this deal here later today. So.
Yeah, we should definitely. Steve Reinprecht's also going to be there, and he's also one of the development coaches.
Yep.
We should chat up Reinprecht and Budaj at the same time and talk to him about development with the Eagles.
Yep.
100%. Budaj, I know specifically, is a great interview and loves to talk about goaltending.
Lindsay's calling me.
Wow.
Amazing timing.
Yeah. Hold on.
She's going to be mad because I said something wrong. Probably.
She's watching us live.
Yeah. Look at him go. Anyway, while AJ's talking to Lindsay, Lacroix Hockey, great organization. We're putting on a big fundraiser for them at the event. So if you want to come help support hockey in Hockey Capital USA, it's a great way to get in on and do it. So highly recommend you get it on Thursday. They're doing a silent auction, going to be giving away a bunch of awesome stuff. Of course, you can come say hi to the guys, get some stuff signed, mingle with the Avs alumni, as it were. Also, some other players, non-Avs, are going to be there too, hanging out. So it's going to be a cool group of people. Highly recommend. Anyway, while AJ finishes his conversation, Meghan, I know you're working on some stuff with Galchenyuk here in the coming days too, so I don't want to spoil anything. I'll let you take Chucky wherever you want to take that.
It honestly still feels so undetermined. Just in what I've seen of him briefly in the AHL, people have asked me too about this very question, and I genuinely don't know the answer. If I was going based off of what I saw in camp and preseason, it would be a very easy yes, especially given the dire straits of the current injury situation. But just looking at what I've seen in the AHL so far, it would not be enough for me to say this guy should have a contract with the Avs organization tomorrow. It's just not enough yet. It's not like he's not doing things well in the AHL. It's just it is the AHL, and you really want to see a player that is NHL caliber stand out in a really big way. And he's picked up a couple of secondary assists. So they play tonight. It's really going to be a great opportunity to get an extended look at him so I could better evaluate how I feel about him, because I did like what I saw in camp and preseason. So I don't want to breeze by that. And I know Bednar genuinely liked what he saw, and he lived by those words that this path back to the organization was really there for Galchenyuk once he got healthy. So overall, it's just good to see that he's healthy again too. But as far as a future fit with the Avs, it's a little serendipitous how he got healthy around the same time that things have gone so badly with injuries for them. But, you know, you don't want to make a decision out of desperation either.
For sure. You good, AJ?
Can I bring us back to that real quick?
Yep. Say the parts that I missed, and she was like, Rudo's being dumb.
No, she didn't know that we were on the pod right now. She wanted us to make sure to include that the silent auction that we are doing, which all proceeds are going to Lacroix Hockey and to grow youth hockey in Colorado and the programs that they're going to run.
That's literally exactly what I said while you were on the phone.
But that silent auction is including things like there's a 95-96 Stanley Cup Champs t-shirt signed by the entire team. There's a signed McKinnon stick, a signed Makar puck, a 2022 team signed champs Stanley Cup champion pennant. There's also in the auction is a suite for for a game this year. So you bid on a suite for you and up to 20 of your closest friends to go to a game, to sit in a suite. If you've never done that and you never thought you'd be able to afford it, this is probably a chance to get in on that. So she wanted me to include, she wanted me to let people know what some of the silent auction items were going to be, if anybody was on the fence about coming down or whatever. It's a lot of really awesome stuff.
I've only ever been to one Avs game in a suite, and I'm not going to lie to you, I don't remember a lot of that game.
I have been to Avs, Nuggets, and Mammoth games in suites over the years, and they are all wildly different experiences. Highly recommend the Avs one. That one was my favorite. A crazy good time. So
there you go.
Anyway, if you've ever wanted to check out a game in a suite, it's a chance to do it.
That's awesome.
I don't want to get too much into the Galchenyuk conversation because I know, Megan, you're working on some stuff for later this week, so we'll keep it on the tip of our tongue maybe. But someone else that I'm sure you want to talk about, someone told me Logan O'Connor was going to score 15 goals this season. and then I don't know if you officially bumped it up to 20 or not, but right now Logan O'Connor's on pace for that. I'm just saying he's been the one proper bottom six depth piece that the Avs have actually found some good scoring from.
No complaint.
I'll give you the floor for this.
I don't have much, he had a burst of offense at the start of last year too. So the question becomes, is it sustainable? And honestly, with how he has gotten things done so far, I would say it is sustainable so long as he continues to shoot. I know that finishing has been a little bit of a struggle for him last season, and that's something that he was looking to work on this year, and that has been attributed to some of his success in stringing together offense recently. And so I think that's still the formula for him moving forward, and suggests that this can definitely be possible. You look at the elevated opportunity because everybody on that third line is kind of playing up from what would normally be a fourth line role. So he has this window of opportunity now as guys are getting healthy to really lean into that. So I think that I'm just happy for him. And I look at his work ethic and everything that everyone says about him. I was telling my mom about this the other day, and I said he works really hard. She says, you say that about everyone. And to a point, she's right. But it's not just me who has pointed to this being the quality that has made Logan O'Connor this player, and why we shouldn't be completely surprised that this has happened. But it's also, in talking to Cronin about some of the most coachable players, he said that Logan O'Connor was one of the easiest, and it's because of his level of compete. And that's just something that won't change about him. So I think it's sustainable, and I'm really happy for him.
Okay. I don't have anything to add there. I think that was perfect for O'Connor. But my next question becomes...
he will not continue to shoot 22%.
Well, yeah. It's definitely not going to happen.
Not that accuracy. Sure. But he just needs to continue to shoot.
Yeah.
Hey, look. His backhand worked on a breakaway. Anything is possible. Okay.
I mean, really, like, I can be the pessimist and say his scoring pace isn't going to continue all day long, but it doesn't matter. It's shift by shift, game by game. He's one of their most reliable players. He's one of their most effective two-way forwards right now. If you look at his fancy stats defensively, he's excellent on a consistent basis. Offensively, he's not, which, again, that's why he's Logan O'Connor. That's why he's making $1 million and he's not making $4 million, because he scores on a consistent basis. It's just not a fair ask of that. If he grows into more of a true third-line player, amazing. Like, the Avs really, 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 really need that right now, especially because Andrew Cogliano more and more and more looks right at the finish line.
Yeah.
As much of a warrior and heart and soul guy as that guy is, and as much as I personally love him, the difference when you watch Andrew Cogliano versus Logan O'Connor, I can't believe I feel the way that I do when each of those guys has the puck. Because when Cogs has it, I'm like, great, nothing will come of this. And when LOC has it, I'm like, you never know. We could be in for something here. And then they give it to Comfer, and then nothing is happening. So it's with LOC, it's really like he's really everything that you could have asked for. There are no complaints at all. He's been great. He's the man. And it's funny you mentioned Cronin brought him up as one of the guys that he talked about being coachable. Well, Bednar also brought him up as a guy that young players should look to as the example to follow. Hard work every day. If you just put in the work on a consistent basis, eventually your skill will start to take over, and that's how your game will elevate. And you've got two coaches now who are like, this is the guy. Be like Logan.
It's funny, too, because he's like a one-size-fits-all player that coaches are pointing to. Because even in Foodie's player to emulate Logan O'Connor, even Martin Kaut, who do you want to emulate? Logan O'Connor. And I'm like, okay, you can't all be Logan O'Connor. You should work as hard as Logan O'Connor, but I don't want all of you to be carbon copies of Logan O'Connor. We could deviate from this a little bit, but I love where everyone's head is at. And it's really a testament to who he is that coaches point to him. We want you to be like him.
So a positive in a bottom six where there aren't many, for sure.
Very, very pro LOC group here right now.
Look, I even put a shirt on today, so
yeah, see,
works out. Beyond LOC,
Cogs is fine.
He's fine. He's just, again, we'll talk about Cogs in the playoffs when it matters.
You know what would be funny now thinking about this? It would be funny if all the Avs next year for the team Halloween party went as Logan O'Connor. All of them.
Hopefully not scary playoff beard Logan O'Connor. He looked like a beet farmer. I didn't like it.
Do you know any beet farmers?
No, but if you've seen The Office.
But you saw The Office. Okay. All right.
I do want to not necessarily go a little doomery here, but if the Avs do suffer another injury, you have Mikhail Maltsev floating around still. You have Charles Hudon down there. Is there a world where the Avs get hurt enough to consider Jean-Luc Foudy?
We really hope not.
I think they're an injury away to a winger from having the Hudon versus Foudy conversation.
Okay.
I think the answer is still Charles Hudon. You really want to let Foudy continue to just do his thing.
And there's still Anton Bleed to get through. And Bednar loves him so much. Bednar loves him so much. Look, I didn't do this. I didn't decide this.
Why? Why we gotta go? I would rather have talked about Oscar Olausson.
God, me too. No, he was in my would be a fun call-up, unexpected of the year. But Anton Bleed is still there. And so before we get to Foudy, we do have to get through a Bleed. Probably. Honestly, Maltsev can play wing, like depending on what their needs are. There's a Maltsev in the conversation. And then maybe a Charles Hudon, which I also think is a fun option. But then we're looking at Foudy, who Cronin says, could he play in the NHL right now? Yes. It would just be a very random game. And I think that's a very succinct way to describe what Foudy would do in the NHL right now. I think there would be really fun moments, but there would also be really confusing ones. And that's why I still want Foudy to hammer out some details over the course of this season. But his skill upside is so high. I'm really high on Foudy. I just don't want to throw him to the lion's den too soon.
Well, he's taking those steps forward that you want to see a guy take, and you really don't want to interrupt that by calling him up to the NHL and then giving him a really, really reduced role. And then, he's up in the NHL for a week or two or whatever, and then he has to go back and kind of regain that momentum. You really want to just keep propelling him forward. Like, you want to just be like, this is going well. We'll continue to let this go well. You really don't want to be in that position to call that guy up right now. That is, golly.
And
if it happened, I'd be happy. I'd go down Ricky lap, cheer him on, but
as Chad has mentioned, we talked about Galchenyuk a little bit earlier in the show. Which is most likely the bailout option there. But
well, and he's the guy that you really think is like, this is a really interesting guy here, right? Because he did look good in training camp. He did look good in the brief preseason that they got of him. They clearly like him. They clearly think that there's something there worth looking at further. Otherwise, they wouldn't have bothered to bring him back even after the injury. And the injury was the only reason they released him from the PTO. It had nothing to do with how he was playing. And the thing with Galchenyuk is he's the only one of these guys that has a 30-goal season in the NHL on his resume. Out of all these guys that we're talking about, even Arturi Lehkonen, we're sitting here that none of these guys have that. This is a guy who's done it in the NHL. It's been a while. But he's also, it's not like a 34-year-old like with Andrew Cogliano where you're looking at it and you're like, well, look at his career. Maybe he could do it again. Like, no. But with Galchenyuk, you're like, hey, man, maybe there's some finishing still left in the stick. Maybe there's still some game there.
He's only 27.
Can he get the defensive details down where you feel comfortable playing him? Because he's been a bad defensive player his entire career. And a lot of it has been effort-based. A lot of it has been the give a shit hasn't been there. Has he been humbled by this experience where he had to get a PTO? He had to get a PTO last minute, then got hurt, doesn't have a job. This guy was a top 5 pick, doesn't have a job in the NHL at age 27. This should be his prime. This should be like when he is going off in the NHL, making big money. Has he been humbled enough by this experience that he will commit himself in a way that he has yet to in his career to being a two-way player? Because I'm really not worried about what he can do offensively. I think that if you drop him into an offensive setting and where the Avs are with the injuries right now, they can. They could put him next to Evan Rodrigues. They could put him next to to Alex Newhook or Martin Kell, however they want to do it. But they can give him the kind of minutes and offensive zone starts, shelter him a little bit, whatever, where they can really lean on the offense. But he's got to put the work in defensively. He's got to put the work in to be a two-way player. He's never done it in his career. You go and look at his entire career. Never once has he even been league average defensively. He has always been a bad defender. And it's not an irrelevant thing. You can get away with that. If you are scoring 30 goals, coaches will give you a little more leeway. But without that leeway, without that 30 goals on the other side of it, you cannot be a bad defensive forward. And it just will not fly. And that's the only thing. It's like, he's got to show this. He's got to show that he's willing to do it, that he's willing to put that work in. And not saying he can't do it, just saying it hasn't happened. And I want to see what this experience where, he's been bouncing around on 1-year deals. He's been in a lot of organizations the last few years. I want to see how this experience, being on the PTO, not having a job and being on the fringe of professional hockey, to be honest with you. He's on an AHL PTO right now. This is not what he thought his life was going to be like. Does that humble him enough to get him to get into the mindset of, I need to put in this work? Or does he start to feel a little bit of success and slip into the bad habits that have put him where he is? Alex Galchenyuk is a really, really interesting option, but you can't count on him in any way. You cannot rely on him. And I think that's what makes him a scary option. Even if things go well, at the drop of a hat, it could turn on you and go bad.
Well, we'll have to wait and see if and when or what the Avs even do.
I hope he tears it up with the Eagles and the Avs are like, let's roll. I think it would be the world's most fun storyline.
I agree.
Either way, we'll have you covered on it. Any final thoughts on today's show?
We didn't really talk about Martin Kaut, but some props to him. I think he's showing that he can play in the NHL. It's not overwhelming. It's not super high end stuff, but I think he is showing he can hang.
Given the extended out time for Darren Helm, I really think he's going to stick. But
I just wonder. Bednar seems to have such a really short lease for him in particular that I do wonder about it.
Yeah. Okay. I guess on that note, we're going to get out of here. We appreciate all y'all hanging out with us today. We will be back tomorrow, another regular show. So we hope to see you then. But until then, we'll talk to you later.